What is up, guys? Media Master Menard here today, coming at you with another video. And I know it's been a while since I've come to you guys with this type of review video, so I thought, hey, Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker would be the perfect opportunity to do so. So just trying to give you guys a insight into my frame of mind going into this film. I was kind of hyped, but not at the same time, and I think a lot of that has to do with kind of the toxicity around the Star Wars fan base and the nerd Star Wars culture that's going on lately. And I think it got to me a little bit and made me maybe not super excited to see this movie. And the fact that I've found the spin-off movies and TV shows like The Mandalorian to be more entertaining than the movies lately, I actually wasn't too hyped going into this. But I watched the previous two films in this trilogy the day before the movie came out, and my hype level was starting to go up. I'm on the record saying that I really did enjoy Star Wars The Last Jedi Episode 8. I know a lot of people didn't like it was controversial, but I really did think it was a good film, but we're not going to get into that during this review. What we are going to go into is analysis of Star Wars Episode 9. So this movie starts off and we get to see Kylo Ren kind of on a rampage, and it was really cool seeing him just like angry, and he's the supreme leader now, and he's trying to find this Sith Wayfinder, which it looks like he's actually looking for it on Mustafar. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but it looks like he is. And from the previews, if you've seen any of them, you know that Palpatine is back. Yes, Emperor Palpatine is back, and I think that's one of the biggest problems I have with this movie. I really don't think they should have brought him back, and if they did bring him back, I thought they should have done more explaining on how he was able to return, how he survived all this time, and what he has really more specifically been doing in the background. We weren't really offered up any explanation. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but the movie kind of gives a laughably bad explanation for why the Emperor is back, and it seems almost satirical, the explanation that they give. So I really didn't appreciate that, and that kind of goes for kind of my biggest problem with this movie in general. It just felt like it was moving at a whirlwind pace from start to finish. It felt like they were trying to do so many things because they wanted to erase some of the stuff that happened in Last Jedi, that they were just zooming from one planet to another without really explaining much, and they really weren't able to set the scene in a way I would have liked to have seen. I mean, we are just dropped off in some craziness with Finn, Poe, and Chewie, and then we get to see Rey kind of, and how her force powers have increased immensely, and I do mean immensely since the last time we saw her. I don't know if they necessarily showed enough of her training and showing how she got there. That's kind of like what my previous complaint was. But I do think it was cool how they kind of showed how far she's come, and it is crazy how strong she is, guys. But one thing that I must commend this movie for is the CGI done with Carrie Fisher, or Princess Leia. I mean, rest in peace, Carrie Fisher, but you cannot tell that she was not there during the filming of this movie. The CGI is just that fantastic. It is absolutely mind-blowing how they are able to do that with this technology we have today. It looks exactly like Carrie Fisher does. But back to business. From the mission that Chewie, Finn, and Poe went on, they come back and find out that Kylo Ren is on his way to the lost Sith world of Exegol, and that's kind of where our story really starts to pick up, and where I'm going to end kind of my preview of the movie, because it kind of gets very spoilery if you go any farther, and I do not want to get into that at all. If we're going to talk about just the overall plot of this movie, it just seems like there was a lot of plot holes or stuff they kind of thought that we wouldn't care about, that we obviously did care about. And I don't know if there was going to be a director's cut of this movie, but there is a lot of kind of WTF moments that are in this movie that don't really seem explained, but you have to read the like kind of accompanying book to see what's going on. And I'm not really a big fan of that, because there's just kind of a couple moments where you're just really wondering what the hell is going on. Overall, though, I did think the movie did a very satisfying job of wrapping up the trilogy. when you're bouncing back and forth between two different directors, it's kind of hard to have a linear vision of what you're going to be doing with the franchise, and I think JJ did pretty much about as good of a job as he could have, trying to put his own personal stamp on it while not completely erasing what Rian Johnson did in The Last Jedi. Although there is a lot of retconning here, guys, just so you know, which is quite irritating, and to be honest, I kind of go and blame Kathleen Kennedy, who is kind of in charge of Star Wars at Disney. I feel like if she would have been able to have a better vision for the sequel trilogy and have a better planned out kind of what's going to happen, even if we would have been switching directors like we did, I think it would have been easier to maintain her vision if she kind of had a clear-cut vision. As it stands, I really think they were kind of just making it up as they went, the directors. It seemed like they had no blueprints, and they were just kind of doing whatever they thought Star Wars should be, instead of kind of everybody coming together and having a consistent goal that they are working towards. A couple other notes that I wrote down from the movie were that I thought C-3PO was incredibly annoying, and they tried way too hard to make him funny in this film, and I think that's one of my bigger complaints about the sequel trilogy in general, is that they tried very hard, too hard, to have some funny moments, like similar to Marvel movies, but this isn't Marvel movies, this is Star Wars. You can still be lighthearted and fun without trying so hard and quite honestly failing so hard at trying to be funny. It's just been so hit and miss. But I will have to commend this movie. One of the things I wrote down was that the action was really, really good in this movie. In particular, the force parts of this movie were really cool, and even though they might have made kind of people in previous movies look super weak with the force, I mean, there were some really awesome force moments and kind of force battles that I really, really, really did enjoy. And even though one of my complaints was that the movie didn't give enough exposition and was kind of jumping all over the place and kind of a whirlwind, the action that happened during that whirlwind was very good and very pleasing to watch. They really outdid themselves with the CGI, as I mentioned before, so I can't really complain about that. But there was one thing that I noted down that I really thought was interesting, and that was how Rey's parentage was handled. I'm not going to say anything about who they are, I promise, no spoilers. At the time of my first viewing of this movie, thought they handled it very well, but on a second watch, I actually thought that I did not like how they handled it, and I kind of wish they wouldn't have gone back and retconned what happened in The Last Jedi. But that's kind of very, very opinion-based. Some people have liked it that I've talked to, other people haven't. I just thought it would have been better not to mess with what had already been done in the previous movie and make it meaningless. One other thing that I noticed was how fan servicey it felt when old characters from the original trilogy appeared, and I noticed this also in Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Every time there is a moment where an original trilogy character reappears, there's like a really big pause and emotional music stirs up, and it just seems like they're trying too hard to bring back nostalgia and play into nostalgia instead of just making a good movie. And I'm not saying that this wasn't a good movie, but I'm just saying as an example, it feels like they're trying to live off their past deeds instead of really focusing in on their new movies. It seems like they're trying to live in the past a little too much and play that nostalgia a little too much. But I will say there was one part about this movie that I did think was really good, and I thought the acting in this movie was actually very good, especially for a Star Wars movie. I don't think people can really hate at acting being cheesy, or everything that was cheesy in this movie was designed so, and I think the actors did a fantastic job. Once again, Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver as Rey and Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, whatever you want to call them, were absolutely fantastic. And their chemistry on screen together, even if they're not next to each other and they're connected by the Force, their chemistry on screen together was absolutely amazing. I loved it, and I really do think it was the best part of this trilogy. It was incredible. One other thing that I have to mention was kind of my disappointment in the lightsaber duels, not only in this film, but the sequel trilogy as a whole. I thought for the finale of the trilogy we'd be getting some epic lightsaber duel that was intense and exciting. We had one that was somewhat like that, but still I think any lightsaber duel from the prequel trilogy is going to be better than what you get here in the sequel trilogy, and that's a little bit disappointing. I know some people will use the cop-out excuse of, hey, these aren't trained Jedi Knights who have been practicing for years on their lightsaber combat, but honestly, to me, it was just a little frustrating. I was really expecting something. I mean, with Revenge of the Sith, we got some super epic battles, and I was hoping to get something along those lines in this movie, and we never got it. But a counterpoint to that is the Force powers in these battles were a lot cooler. And Disney has done an excellent job of incorporating the Force into their duels, but what they have kind of done is made, like I mentioned earlier, some of the previous Force users look kind of wimpy. I mean, some of the stuff that Rey and Kylo are doing in this movie is absolutely insane. So there's kind of a trade-off to that, but I did like the way they incorporated the Force into the fights a little more than any other Star Wars movie has done in the past. One other thing that I thought I'd mention was there was a lot of kind of random cool moments in this movie, like Luke and Leia training in a flashback that we honestly don't get enough of or enough in-depth explanation of, and it really just makes me want more, and I wish that was something that they could do for us, but I know they're kind of trying to use their supplementary content, their data books, their TV shows, all those other things to kind of give you that nitty-gritty information. But that about wraps it up for my review of this today, guys. And I know it seemed kind of negative, but you have to keep in mind some of my personal preferences of media delivery are starting to come into effect here, because I find myself a lot more now becoming more of a person who prefers TV to movies, because I think there's so much in-depth world building and character exploration and character development that you can do in these long formats of a TV season compared to a 2.5 hour movie. I mean, I felt like a lot of the character development and exploration was just not there in this sequel trilogy, and that's really somewhat Star Wars' fault, but somewhat just the choice of media's fault. You don't have enough time in these movies to do so. I still do hold it against them, because I mean, we don't even get to see Rey, Finn, and Poe together that much, because they're always kind of separated doing their own thing, but they seem like best friends in this movie when they're on screen together. So I thought there was a little bit of a disconnect there, but I just wanted to be upfront with you guys on how kind of my media preferences are changing, how some of that bias could be leaking into this review. But overall, it was not a great film, but it was not terrible. It was definitely a good film that was fun and worth your time to go see, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. I'm sure you've already seen the movie, but I think it is worth your while. If you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be bringing you guys more movies, TV, video game, and anime content. I'll leave a link to my Twitter down in the description below so you can find out when I post a new video. My next video is going to be a review of the Season 1 of The Witcher on Netflix, and let me tell you guys, I am a huge Witcher fan. I am reading the books currently. I'm on book 4. I love The Witcher 3. I've played it twice through, over 100 hours each time, and I have some interesting thoughts on this new season that Netflix has brought us, and you'll have to watch that video to find out. And until then, this is Master Menard signing off.
Now look at the top, I'm going crazy, who wearing the crown? Scoodly bop, doodly bop.